All right.
All right.
Cool.
What's
We'll give
going
it
on, everyone? Hey, you
Hello.
know us. We're here every week. Could do something a little different today. The guys from Glass Experts Partners, Brandon and Chance, they want to do a little interview with me. So it's funny. It's like I've got the chance to interview some other people before, but no one's ever interviewed me. So see
You're
what
the
it's
man
like to have
behind the scenes. Like none of us would be here if it wasn't for you, right? Well, at least not on this page, at least. Um, so I think it's important to go back to the root of that and find out what started it all. What started Facebook Shower Pros and everything that led up to that point, and that's taken us to where you're going in the future. I think you're doing some pretty cool stuff, and it'd be nice to learn more about it.
awesome. Well, thanks a lot, man.
Heck yeah.
So you are the host.
Brandon's gonna play co-host. I'll play host since I'm the long-winded one of the group and I enjoy talking so much. It'll be fun to sit here and pick your brain a little bit. So I put a little caption and image together, and it was from a quote that you had said on one of these live calls when we started a few weeks ago, and it said, "Competition? What's that? I don't know what that is. I don't have any competition." Where did that mindset and that mind frame come from? That's kind of just where I wanna begin.
Yeah. So the competition really is when you're one of a number of people who's offering the same product and you're competing, in terms of being a glass shop. If you've got a product that you're selling and, all the other glass shops in town are selling the same product, you have to compete with them for customers, people, want to buy the same thing. And in my line of work, I decided to specialize in shower doors here in Santa Cruz, California. Now, Santa Cruz is funny because there are so many glass shops in Santa Cruz. I mean, you can't throw a rock without hitting one. And so
And
per capita,
how many people live there? 50,000?
probably something like that. It's a little area, there's Santa Cruz, the city of Santa Cruz, then Santa Cruz County is really the community that I serve mostly, that I kind of focus on. So, as a shower door company in Santa Cruz County, there are no other shower door companies. So really, I'm the only one who does what I do in my own thinking. Of course, all of the glass shops in town, sell shower doors, I think. But and it's a funny story. Actually, I was having a conversation with one of my competitors years ago. Gosh, it's probably been 10 years ago now. And this other guy who had a glass shop in town, we were talking. We were discussing the possibility of maybe teaming up and forming a partnership of some sort. But anyway, during one of our conversations, he said, there's enough work doing shower doors in Santa Cruz that someone could start a business doing nothing but shower doors. And as soon as he said that, I thought, that's a brilliant idea. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And then I decided to do that. I changed the name of my company. The company was called Santa Cruz Showcase at the time. And so I changed the name to Showcase Shower Door, and started doing that. And so, yeah, I really don't have anybody who I compete with, at least not in my thinking.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's good. I didn't know if it was based off of a quality perspective or no one like was up to your par or up to your level, so you didn't feel like you had competition in that way. But so it was nice to hear a different perspective than even what I was thinking it was.
Well, no, I mean that plays into it too, and it's
Okay,
like,
I knew
you
you were
know,
cocky.
I mean, mostly I'm kidding,
Mm.
mostly I'm just joking, and it's just kind of my sense of humor. But if you like I was starting to say before, if you're just selling the same product everybody else is, then you have to compete. But if you innovate and if you're doing something that nobody else can really do, then you don't have to compete with anybody. I mean, you're the only game in town.
Mhm.
And I feel like I've positioned myself in that way here in Santa Cruz to where I am the best. I mean, you can Google me and find out. I mean, it used to be like you'd say, "Oh, we're number one," and it was like, "Well, yeah, it's just your opinion." Now it's like you can go on search engines. You can go do research and find out, is this guy really the best?
Yeah.
And apparently, according to all of my research, it looks like I am.
That's what, 'cause that's how Brandon really positioned himself. I mean, he really tried to build his business off of quality and being better and being innovative and doing things that kind of push the boundaries that the normal everyday go-to guy wouldn't do and stuff like that. So y'all kind of have that part in similarity. Found your niche, went after your niche, um, and really honed in on that and became the quality guys. So you didn't really have any competition because everyone else is, you see more jacks of all trades and masters of none when it comes to the glass business from the people that we seem to talk to the most. So
Right.
going back, like talking about today and the present and what positioned you in this place of no competition. Let's go back all the way to the beginning of where you were born. Were you born in Santa Cruz? You always grown up? You're a local, or where did the journey of Chris Phillips begin?
Actually, I was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan. Yeah. So I've been in Santa Cruz since about '99.
Okay.
But between coming here to Santa Cruz and being born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I mean, I've lived all over the country. I've done a lot of traveling around. I've lived in a lot of different states, a lot of different cities.
Is that an army brat thing, or what was that from? Mom and dad?
Well, actually, my dad was a glazer and was was working in Grand Rapids, Michigan back in those days in the 60s, 70s. Grand Rapids was a booming place. And when I was young, probably 7 or 8 years old, my parents decided to move to Phoenix, Arizona, where Brandon is. And because that Phoenix was booming at that time. And I think actually it still is. I mean, I don't think it ever stopped.
Like the fifth largest city. It's crazy how
Uh,
fast it's growing right
Still
now.
yeah,
going.
Phoenix is crazy, But so we
Still
moved
getting
there.
higher.
He was a journeyman glazer, and that's where the work was. So we ended up moving there. So I moved from like this frozen climate, like right next to Canada, basically, um, to like Phoenix, Arizona, and it was summertime when we
Talking about
moved.
extremes.
I mean, I thought I was gonna die. I got heat strokes and stuff just being out. I mean, you get so hot so fast you don't even realize how your body temperature's going up, man. I got really sick a couple times. I was just a little kid, but man, it was quite a change.
Uh, what kind of glass work did your dad do? Being a journeyman, mainly commercial work.
He did, yeah, yep. High rises, mostly that kind of a thing. And he was always
Oh,
like a foreman. He was always like running work and stuff like that.
always worked for someone else. Never worked for himself.
He did, he always worked for somebody else. There was this period when we were in Vegas that there were some guys who wanted to start up. They talked him into, starting up a company. It was called Rainbow Glass. So him and a couple of his buddies from the union decided to start up a shop, and that went on for like a couple of years, but it didn't work out. And my older brother Greg, he's also a glazer, and so we would always try to talk him into starting up a shop. It's like, dude, we should all start a business of our own, like Phillips Glass or something, and just make all the money. And my dad he was just not interested in it. It's just too easy for him to get up, go to work. He made good money, working as a union glazer, good benefits. He could work 40 hours a week, work a little overtime if he wanted to, and it was just an easy way to make a living. Just
So
didn't seem worth it to him.
who got him into glass? So like glass is one of those trades where you don't just grow up and wake up one day and like, man, I just want to be a glazer. Can't wait till I'm 18 so I can clock in and clock out and be a glazer, you know? Um, Usually it's family, right? Or a friend of a family. So who got dad into it?
I'm not really sure the answer to that question, and maybe my brother would know. I should ask him about that. But I do know that I had an uncle that was a glazer, Ace. And so I don't know if Ace got my dad into the business, or my dad got him into the business, or if it was just a coincidence that they were both glazers. Couldn't have been a coincidence
Yeah.
because there's just not that many.
Yeah, it doesn't really work out that way in this industry, like it was always like a friend suckered you into it, or your family business, or it was your first job at a high school and somebody taught you how to do it, so then you wound up coming back to it. um, but usually there's a pretty close connection to somebody in the family or friend that ties somebody in, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned going from Arizona to Vegas, with that, and you skimmed by that really quick. So was y'all moved a lot? Dad was just chasing commercial buildings, or just looking for the next project and kind of rolling into the next job? Was that kind of the way of life back then?
It kind of was. It was like that. I mean, we went from Michigan to Arizona. We were in Arizona, and then there was kind of a lull in business, and then Vegas started to boom. And if you guys don't know it, Vegas is about a 6-hour drive from Phoenix. So so he started just driving to Vegas, going to work during the week, driving home on the weekends, and just to do that temporarily because that's where the work was and the money was good. And after doing that for a year or so, it's like, hey, the writing's on the wall. We should just go ahead and move to Vegas. And I was the youngest of three kids. It was my brother I was telling you about. He's 5 years older than me. Then I have a sister who's a year older than him. So by this time, I was probably 13 years old or so, and my brother and sister were old enough to where they could make their own decision, live where they wanted to. But my mom and dad decided, let's go ahead and move to Las Vegas. So that's where I went, and so that's where I ended up doing the bulk of my growing up. That's where I went to junior high school. That's where I went to high school, and all that. So
So 13 years old was like a pivotal moment in my life. And I know for a lot of kids, you kind of go in one good direction or you kind of fall off the rocky path between those ages. So, what kind of kid were you in those junior high and high school years? Ambitious, entrepreneurial ships going on back then, trying to make money, um, partier, chasing girls. Well, who was Chris Phillips back then?
I was the bad kid. I was like black sheep of the family, class clown.
I could see
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you can imagine that, huh? Smart
Yeah.
ass, you know. Um, it was pretty traumatic, making a move like that. I mean, like you say, I mean that's a pretty formative time in your life.
Yeah.
And I was already, kind of interested in partying, but
Now you got no friends, new school. I mean, so you feel alone even more. You're a black sheep of the family. Now you're a black sheep at a new school. You're going through puberty. Like life changes a whole lot at those ages. Um,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I was not very tall of stature. I've always been kind of shorter than the average kid, so it's like I didn't really get picked for the sports teams and stuff like that. I dabbled in sports a little bit, but I wasn't really excelling in that. But I had some musical talent and so interest in music, and I started, I picked up the guitar and started hanging out with the stoners, and that was just kind of the place where I was able to kind of fit in. Of course, that age you're interested in girls, you're trying to figure out an angle at on how to meet girls, right? I mean, that's the
Yeah.
number one thing. And so
If
since I
you're not
wasn't
the
really a,
quarterback all star,
yeah,
what do
right.
you
I wasn't a
do?
jock. I wasn't gonna be getting with the cheerleaders. That was for sure. So it's like, well, how can I work this angle? So I had good sense of humor. You know, it was kind of funny, and I didn't have any problem like being singled out and the class. So I always thought of something clever to say to the teacher or something that would get laughs. Of course, that got me in trouble, but it also got me attention, and I liked the attention. And so I think looking back, I was probably smarter than the average kid in my class, and I was probably a little bit bored in there, and it was just easy for me to just kind of get into trouble. So that's primarily what I did.
Did you graduate high school?
I actually did not graduate high school. I mean, it's amazing that I hung in there for as long as I did. Really, I started getting high when I was really young. Actually, the first time I smoked pot, I was probably literally, this is gonna kind of freak you out, I'm sure. I was probably like 7 years old. First time I ever smoked pot. I mean, that was a long time ago. That's like we're talking about like 1972.
It was cool. Like it was like that.
I don't know. I mean, it's like that long ago. People. I mean, it was kind of unusual for a kid that little.
Yeah, pretty
But
young.
as soon as the first time I did it, I loved it. I just loved it. It made me feel different. It made me feel like there was a lot of uh, stuff going on in my life. My parents were actually not getting along, and they were separating, and they actually ended up reconciling, and they stayed married for the rest of their lives, which was pretty cool and kind of unusual. you
Very
know. Um,
unusual.
but uh, but yeah, I knew right away as soon as I smoked pot the first time. It was like, oh man, this is for me, and it was
Was
something
it?
that just made me feel like connected somehow. And so I started doing that, and I started going to school high, and I started going to school to just
At
find
7?
other kids. Oh well, at not. I mean, at seven, it was kind of a rarity. I
Just
mean, it was
tried
just
it.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was just now and then. But they were hippies. I mean, it was like back in, I can remember, it was like
Yeah.
early '70s, and there were a lot of teenagers smoking pot. And I had my brother and sister were, in their early teens by then, and so I would tag along and follow them around. Sometimes they had to take me along with them, your little
Of
brother,
course.
and so they, their friends thought it was cool. Hey, look, this little kid, man, here, take smoke this joint, and I would, and they'd laugh. They thought it was great. And but it wasn't until I was like in junior high school to where I really started on a regular basis, getting loaded. And yeah, I mean, I'd get to school early just because it was a place where you could like buy drugs. It was a great place to find drugs, like at school. So I get there early and get loaded before school, go to school high, and it's like didn't do very good at that. And
So,
then
so the ambitions of being a stoner and all of that stuff in high school or junior high, that didn't have you like with a secondary job or weekend job mowing lawns or anything like that?
no job.
No job. No job.
No, I didn't. I didn't have any ambition. I didn't. Didn't want to get off the couch.
Did
I mean,
that gateway into did that gateway into to harder drugs, things of that nature, or just the typical stoner with your flip flops on and hanging out on Santa Cruz Beach?
no, it absolutely did. It absolutely did accelerate. And the people I was hanging out with, when you get into that crowd, you're just going to get exposed to more and more of the same. And so, I wanted to try, more and more different kinds of things. And actually I ended up really strung out on drugs badly. I had a really serious drug problem. By the time I was, in high school, it was just like I didn't show up for school very much, and I actually ended up getting busted for truancy. I mean, I don't know how many people, in the past, in the history, have ever like actually done time for skipping school, but I actually did. They busted me. I got put on probation. I violated that. They ended up locking me up until I was 18. So it's like probably the second half of my 17 year I spent incarcerated. Um,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah, unbelievable. And so it is just downhill from there. And um,
Not
yeah,
obviously downhill because you're uphill now.
well,
It's even crazy just here, like you're so well composed to hear that, everyone has those up and downs, everyone
yeah.
has that story. So not something that you would imagine. After high school, any more run-ins with the law or what?
Oh yeah, yeah. It
No,
got worse. It got worse from there.
oh, you didn't go, it didn't get better.
Oh no, no, no. It's actually, yeah. I mean, I ended up, not finishing school, and you know, eh, you know, made some attempts to straighten my life out, and would get back on track and then fall back off. And I really didn't understand why. I mean, when you're a teenager, and you're out drinking beer and smoking pot,
And you
and
know
it's like
everything.
it's yeah, and it's kind of fun and it's cool and it's like it's cute, or whatever. But when you're like in your late 20s and it's like you can't hold a job because you can't stop using drugs, and you're unemployable. It's like it's not funny anymore. I mean, it's not cute anymore. It's just like it becomes really embarrassing.
So you rode
And
that wave to your late 20s?
I was in my early 30s. Actually, by the time I was 30 years old, I was so strung out on drugs, mainly like methamphetamine by that time. So
Wow.
I was so badly strung out that I couldn't hold a job. I mean, I wasn't welcome at my parents' home. It was like I wasn't allowed to go there. I mean, I wasn't welcome pretty much anywhere. I had a really bad attitude, and was really had a real victim mentality. I felt like the world like had done me wrong and like owed me something somehow or something like that.
The man with no competition used to think the world owed him
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, absolutely. And then just would like could find the dark side of anything, you know. And even like the crowd I hung out with, you can imagine, was not like the most choice group of people, But even my friends said, "Man, you got a bad attitude." In fact, I'd be sitting there using drugs with somebody, and they'd be like, "Dude, you got a drug problem. You
So
need to
the
get
guys you were doing
help."
drugs with, the guys you were doing
Yeah,
drugs with said you had a
yeah,
drug problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They were like, "Man, it's like I've got a problem, but dude, you really got a problem. You need to get some help."
Where's
So
you talked about dad, but like where's mom during all this? It seems like she was stable throughout with your
yeah.
dad their whole life. So like where's she throughout all of this?
Oh man, just tormented by it. I mean, just my mom was really a saint. I mean, literally. I mean, she prayed for me. She went to church all the time, and she got her friends to pray for me. And yeah, I was just like the mission of her life. I was the kind of person really by my early 30s that like was so badly strung out on drugs that uh, I would just be walking down the street in the middle of the night in like Las Vegas, just walking down the sidewalk, and I'd be like barefoot because I'd like lost my shoes somewhere, and just kind of like talking to myself. Like you've seen people like that, like just walking down the street in the middle of the night, like talking to themselves, like filthy, and just like. And I know that people would drive by and see me and be like, "Wow, that guy right there. There's no hope for that guy. He will never. He's that person will never amount to anything."
Wow.
And
What
I mean, I was really that's
So
where I
what
was.
changed? So what changed? What you hit rock bottom, obviously.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's really when I surrendered my life to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I mean, really, the bottom line is it was the Lord, who saved me from it. I I found some meetings, 12-step meetings to go to. And
Someone kind of guide you that direction, family, friend, to do it on your own kind of thing?
when I was incarcerated as a teenager, when I was telling you earlier,
Mhm.
that I was kind of exposed to 12-step program, so I heard about it there, but never really, never really gave it an honest try. Um, but at this point in my life where I was reaching rock bottom, like we were talking about, I was actually in Texas at the time. I was in the Fort Worth, Texas area. And I ended up getting really sick with like hepatitis A. I mean, I like turned yellow and I was like, man, sick as a dog. And I ended up actually being hospitalized because I was so sick. And while I was in the hospital, they had me see a shrink. Because I guess that, like, if you've got such a bad drug problem that you become sick and almost die, they think maybe you need to talk to a psychiatrist or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
So, so they sent this guy in to talk to me, and we just started talking. It was just kind of like, hey, so, um, what's going on, And I started telling him, oh, it's like, yeah. Started telling my story about what a victim I was, and how, like, my parent, screwed me up, stuff like that. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, you know, you can never be a success and at the same time prove that your parents screwed you up.
Hmm.
And I was like, what? What? And he said it again. He repeated it to me again. It's like you can never be successful and at the same time prove that your parents screwed you up. And it's like, yeah, that's right, because I have to be screwed up in order to prove that my parents screwed me up.
Wow.
And that there was an epiphany that happened there. I'll never forget what he said and how it kind of cut through all my bullshit. And I went from the hospital into treatment. I went to Salvation Army Adult Rehab Center in Fort Worth, Texas, and I spent I don't know, months there. And they kind of turned me on to 12 steps, 12-step programs. People came in from AA, NA, to talk to us. And I started attending meetings, started attending Narcotics Anonymous meetings and just hanging out with other people, and for the first time in my life, I learned that there were people like me who were actually learning to live and stay clean. And it's weird because, there have been many times I've been sitting with somebody, getting loaded and a group of people, and we're like, gosh, we should stop doing this, and we'd all agree, yeah, this sucks. There's no way to live your life, but nobody ever stopped.
Wow.
Nobody ever stopped using.
Did I know a lot of people when they go through stuff like that, whether it's alcohol or drugs, they get help. Usually they fail the first time and they relapse. Did you make it through, or did you relapse and start over, or?
I did relapse. I made it, I'm not sure, I think less than a year the first time, more than 6 months,
Hmm.
but less than a year while I was there in Texas. And yeah, I started getting loaded again. And I stayed off the wagon, for I'm not sure how long. I mean, it's kind of blurry. A year and a half or something. But I do know that I stopped using on October 1st, 1997. And I've never used anything. I've never had like a sip of alcohol or a toke off a joint. Nothing.
So what made you stop the second time?
Oh, I just, I was in Yuma, Arizona, and was hanging out with this buddy of mine, and he was a guy who was also, had been in recovery and was faltering. And we were kind of hanging out together and getting high together. And he was like, we should go to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And I was like, dude, That's a brilliant idea, man. That's exactly what we should do. And we did. And the guy's name was Steve. I don't know what happened to Steve, but that, yeah, that was it. You know, I got back in there. I was familiar again. I remembered that every time I did these things, it worked. And it's a brilliant system. It's like what you do is you just you do a few things every day, and the goal is just to stay clean for one day. So it's like get up in the morning, you know, pray, ask God to help you stay clean. You know, read some spiritual literature, attend a meeting, talk to a sponsor, and um, and just try to stay clean for that one day. And every day that I've ever done that, every day that I've ever used that formula, it's always worked. It's worked 100% of the time. And you know, it's funny, and I used to tell people all the time, I can't think of anything in the world that works 100% of the time. I mean, my truck doesn't start every time I turn the key. I mean, nothing works all every single time. But like this program, this Narcotics Anonymous program thing, it works 100% of the time. As long as I do the stuff that's suggested, I've been able to stay clean. And I mean, it radically transformed my life. I mean, almost immediately. Within just, you know, a few months, once the, you know, the cobwebs started to clear, I started to think rationally, and my life began to become transformed. So at 32 years old, I had like nothing. I mean, I could carry everything that I owned on my back. I had a backpack, I had an old guitar, and that was actually all of my worldly possessions. I had no bank account, I had no credit card, I had no credit. I had, you know, I had nowhere to go. I wasn't welcome anywhere. Um, and I built up everything that I have now from that point.
Where'd you go?
Where did I
did you
go?
go? Where was the start of it?
That started in Yuma, Arizona. So I was in Texas. This guy that I had met at church years earlier, at my mom's church in Las Vegas. He was an intern there, and him and his wife were studying to become preachers, right? Well, they had moved to Yuma, Arizona, and taken over a church, Foursquare Church there. And I guess God had just put me on his heart, and he had called my mom, said, "Hey, I'm thinking about Chris. You know, what's going on with him?" And she was like, "Oh, yeah, he could really use some help. He's in Texas and he's trying to get off drugs and all that." And he said, "Well, you know, tell him he can come out here and hang out with me." So so I did. I moved from Fort Worth, Texas to Yuma, Arizona. I crashed on his floor, and you know, attended his church and played music. I like led the worship service there at his church for a while, and
Awesome.
that's where
Got
I
some
got some
around
community.
you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it all started, you know. And
It's always like those players, like you mentioned Steve, but you know, like those people that have these big pivotal moments in your life, but they're not really key players in your life. But you can see them vivid. You remember the moment. You remember that scene of being with them. And it's crazy, like the butterfly effect when you get to meet those people and you can look back and it's like, man, if I wouldn't have met that guy, where would things have been? So
yeah, like that shrink in the hospital room. I mean, it's like I don't even know what that guy's name was. I can't even tell you, you know, his Doctor Who, what his name was, you know.
right.
But what he said had a profound effect on the rest of my life. And it's something I think about all the time. You know, it's like, and what a trap it is to that victim mentality, you know, of thinking, you know, woe is me, you know, or like if only things were different, if only other people, you know, would.
Everything happens to me instead of everything happens for me. Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just so devastatingly tragic, that mindset. And it's amazing how much of a difference
So
mindset
who helped? Was that all on your own, like changing that mindset? So now you're sleeping on this guy's floor. in Yuma, Arizona. You're getting your life together. You're playing in the church. You got some good community around you. Who was the next person or the next move that kind of shot you in the right direction? I know you're married now, and your wife helps you run a successful company, and you have a happy marriage. And did you know her when you were still getting loaded, and she stuck it out with you, or did you meet her later on down the road?
No, I actually met her later. That's funny. So it's a funny story. I'm going to give you like the Reader's Digest version of this because this is a great story. I moved to Santa Cruz, California in 1999. I lived here for a couple of years, and I had I have a daughter who she's like my love child. All right, her mom and I were never married, but we used to travel together back in the days when I was traveling across the country. So we used to like just kind of bum around together and live that party lifestyle. And along the way, Tracy got pregnant with my daughter, Camille. And Camille was actually born in Clearwater, Florida in '88. So
My age.
yeah, yeah. So Tracy, being a reasonably intelligent woman, got the hell away from me, as quickly as she could. Went to Kansas to live with her dad and kind of raise Camille. And I just never had any contact with them at all. So fast forward to it's the 2000s, and I'm in Santa Cruz, and I'm attending, my 12-step program, and I'm, working on myself and improving myself, and I'm working through the steps, the 12 steps of NA. And there's one step, it's called the 10th, or let's see, where am I at? So, ninth step, where I don't know if I've got this right. But where you start to make amends, for past wrongs, right? And so I'm starting to contact people from my past to tell them, that I was wrong, and ask them what I could do to make it right. Well, it was at that time that Tracy got in touch with me. She had been married to somebody else, and that marriage was ending. So she contacted me to basically just to get support, and I was like, awesome, here's an opportunity for me to actually have contact with my daughter, and be a part of her life. So what I decided to do, since I'd only been in Santa Cruz for a couple of years, I decided, well, I'm just going to move to where she's at, so then I can be near her, be in her life, So they're living in Wichita, Kansas. So I told my friends here in Santa Cruz, hey, I'm moving to Kansas to be near my daughter. They're like, wow, that's awesome. We're going to miss you, but that's great. So my sponsor in NA at the time said, oh, I've always wanted to go there. There's a museum in Wichita that I've always wanted to see. It's like, I'll drive down there with you. So me and my sponsor, Tim, drove to Wichita, Kansas, in my Honda Civic with a trailer, took all my stuff, drove down to Wichita, Kansas. As soon as we got into town, we got the Narcotics Anonymous meeting schedule. Said, okay, we'll go to an NA meeting first night. So we found one. We went there, and the secretary of the meeting was my wife, Tiffany.
Wow.
Talk about like people putting you in the right place at the right time, right?
Right. Yeah. And the truth is, that's how my life really is, Chance. I mean, like, that's how my life is every day. It's like a miracle. It's like everything that happens in my life is just like so miraculous. And I just see, God's fingerprints on everything. I mean, it's just such a miracle that I survived, my teens and 20s, and that I didn't die, that I didn't go to prison. I mean, those things could have happened. I mean, I could have easily just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, ended up in jail for the rest of my life. or ended up, maimed or just or dead, it's such a gift that I've survived all of that. Uh, and so many things, so many wonderful things have happened to me and still do, like all the time. It's just incredible how having the gratitude that I do just makes my life so wonderful, so happy, really happy.
I can
You
relate
know,
to that.
yeah,
It's a great way to look at things. So the
yeah.
world would be a better place if more people looked through the lens of Chris Phillips when they view the world, you know? What about like, going back a little bit, just because everyone hears the Glass Guys? Um, where did that tie back into the world? Did you bounce around in jobs when you started getting like, getting your life back together? You're in Yuma before you got to Santa Cruz. How'd you start making money, making things in? What tied you into like, now I want to work for myself and be a business owner and inventor and speaker and all the things you do today? Um, let's go back there and kind of bring the story home.
Well, I spent my whole life trying not to be a glazer. It's like my dad was
Me
a
too.
glazer. That's like I was like, that's whatever. I don't want to do that. And so what I want to do is be a rock star. So but that didn't pan out, which is probably a really good thing because I'm sure I'd be dead if that would have happened.
If I knew you played the guitar, I would have made you bring it so you could have played a tune
Oh
for
yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
Right.
Next time we'll do a little bit of that. But so I worked in the food service industry a lot. I've worked like every position in a
That's where the
restaurant from.
hospitality comes from.
Yep, absolutely. So from dishwasher to like manager, I've worked every position. So I did that. When I got
Did
to
you
Santa
have
Cruz.
problems? So, like my brother has drug issues and stuff like that, and um, in the program and all that. But his biggest thing was he was a waiter. That was his career, and he had a hard time because in that industry, it was like forced. It was like that's how you stayed alive and on your feet all day and worked those crazy hours and move all fast and stuff like that. So he couldn't be a waiter in order to get away from the drugs. Did that have an effect on you at all or anything like that? Just more of a curiosity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, by the time I stopped using at 32, I was done. I mean, really, I did, and I do my best to avoid situations that would be tempting, um, unnecessarily tempting. But really, it's like, you know, nothing like that really even appeals to me. I mean, I haven't had a strong desire to get
That's
loaded
awesome.
and like over like 20 years,
Yeah.
So but what I decided to do when I first got into Santa Cruz is like I started looking for work in food service, and I got a job as a chef at an assisted living place here. So I was kind of running their kitchen for a while, and I was, attending meetings really regularly because that's, was my lifeline, and ran into a couple of glazers, in the program, and then this one guy just said, "Hey, why aren't you, man? They need help, man. Why aren't you working in the glass industry?" So it's like, maybe I should give that a try. So I did. I signed up with a local here and um, started working and
So
commercial
getting
glass
back into
division.
the glass business, or that happened in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, it happened in Santa
And
Cruz.
you're
Yeah.
back with your did I kind of that killed the story of your beautiful story of going to meeting your wife and everything and your
Uh
daughter.
huh.
What tie? When did they tie back in? Did Tracy and what were your Camille? What was your daughter's name?
Yeah, Camille. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So yeah, that all happened. It was weird because I came to Santa Cruz, like I said, like right at the end of '99.
Yeah.
I'd been clean for 2 years and hung out here for a couple of years. Or oh yeah, I'd been here for about 2 years, and then this happened, and I decided to move to Wichita. So I ended up going there. Like I said, the first meeting I went to, I met Tiffany, We didn't hit it off immediately, but I ended up being there in Wichita for about a year. So by the time once I got there, it's just too complicated. It was just too complicated to stay. But I did meet Tiffany. Tiffany and I decided to get married. So we had this whirlwind romance, fell
That's
in
awesome.
love, got married, and I was like, hey, if you could live anywhere in the world that you wanted to, where would you live? She said, oh, I'd love to live by the ocean. I'm like, oh, I know the perfect place. So I just brought her right back here to Santa Cruz, and I already knew people here and stuff like that. And so once we got back here, then I was, kind of full on into and actually while I was in Wichita, I worked in the glass business there. So I
You do what you
cleared
know.
in, cleared in the local there and worked. It was crazy. Like I think the rate for a journeyman glazer in Wichita, Kansas was like $15 or something.
Jeez.
And that at that time it was like crazy. I just wanted them to let me keep collecting unemployment because I think unemployment was higher than what they were paying.
Oh wow.
Nice.
But yeah,
So
but once we got back here, then I started really going for it and working, with my tools in the industry, commercial glazer. And I was working on like a lot of the big buildings up north of here, where like Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, Apple, all these companies have these big campuses,
yeah.
and there's like tons and tons of work, curtain wall, stuff like that. Did that for a few years, then finally decided, hey, you know what? I would rather work for myself and make less money than this because it just got to where it sucked, just
What
hated it.
sucked about it? So talking to a bunch of guys that own businesses and you got workers, what sucked about it so we can make sure none of us have a sucky company.
None of us do that.
Yeah.
Um, for me, what a big thing was I was working on the Civic Center in San Jose, which is a big project, really fancy stuff. And the employer was really great. It was Enclose. Enclose is like one of the biggest glass contractors, I mean, in the world. They don't take anything under like 10 million or something. So they were probably the only company big enough to actually do this crazy project. And actually my brother and I were working together on that, which was really cool. But I was up there working one day and I looked down and there was this handrail going in and they had all these iron workers setting all the glass in the handrail. And I have nothing against iron workers, but I was just like, man, this sucks. Look at this, man. It's like, you know, how much longer are Glazers even gonna have work doing this? I mean, they've taken everything from us. It's like roofers have taken our skylights. Carpenters have taken our mirrors and handrails. It's like now,
Windows.
these iron workers are taking all of our aluminum and our panels and our brass work. And man, I cut my teeth in Las Vegas where we did absolutely everything. I mean, we did like all kinds of architectural, like brass. There was a lot of brass work, handrails, stripper poles, stuff like that. Uh, and uh, and now it's like, man, it's been whittled down to where glazers just running vinyl, and caulking. You
We
know,
were, we were just talking about, you notice a lot of the bigger commercial players, if you study like the bigger ones, the ones that make Glass Magazine every year, I think there's one full service company on there. Everyone is a glass company, but they all get into some other niche, whether it's aluminum extrusions, their own cladding, unitized systems. They all have something else they're making or manufacturing or producing outside of just the glass at that point. It seems like um, that's like where a lot of them are marketing and making. That has to be where they're squeezing their profits in or something like that
Mhm.
in the bigger
Yeah.
industries. So what? Where was the big change? When you started your glass company, you went full service because you knew it all, or um,
No. So what I decided was, okay, I decided, well, I'm going to have to start small. Don't have any money to invest. Don't have any, angels to come and invest in me. So what can one guy do by himself, in the glass industry that like takes a lot of technical, knowledge and all that. So what I decided to do was to go into building retail displays. So I thought, okay, it's like a showcase is something small enough to like one guy can do the work, and it's like real up close work. It has to be like absolutely dead nuts perfect. Not everybody could do that. So I started my first business was called Santa Cruz Showcase, and that's where the showcase part
Got
of
it.
the name comes from.
Hmm.
So I started, marketing to like jewelers and stuff like that, just high end retailers, and building like custom displays for them and stuff. And it was interesting, because I was planning on, like aluminum, glass, aluminum, brass, that type of construction, but everybody wanted wood. And so I didn't have any real experience in woodworking. So I ended up buying a bunch of tools, so like woodworking tools. Ended up like being a cabinet builder basically, and with just some glass in it, because that's just what people wanted. So it was cool. I mean, working with wood was really fun, and it was a real challenge. And but I figured out pretty quickly I was going to have to branch out, away from that. There wasn't going to be enough for me
But
to
you
do.
started like really niche. That's usually people start so opposite from that. So that's a
Right.
crazy small niche too that you went after. So that's kind of a weird take on the glass business.
Isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I had the right idea, just the wrong niche.
Yeah, well, just it goes into like the innovativeness of you and everything that's come since then. So that natural creativity that's inside you was there from day one. Yeah, just a different niche. So what was the evolution? What came from there?
Yeah, so I went from that to just deciding, okay, well, because I was kind of positioning myself as a manufacturer. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a manufacturer of showcases, basically. And I did that for a while, and I just realized, oh man, I'm not gonna make it to where I want to go from here. I'm gonna have to take some detours. So I decided, well, it just makes sense. I should get my contractor's license. So I decided to do that. I decided to get my contractor's license, my C-17. So once I did that, then I just started doing kind of everything. So I started being like a full service glass shop. And at one time I had a couple of crews and, a couple of trucks and was doing all kinds of stuff, storefront and yeah, you name it, window replacements, custom mirrors, everything. So I, did that for a while. And then just realized, like after that conversation I was telling you about earlier, with my competitor, it's like, wow, that's a brilliant idea, shower doors. And just so I kind of went, spotlight, right? Um,
Yeah.
Showcases to like floodlight the whole industry, and then kind of spotlight back down again on
Yeah.
shower doors. And then shower doors, yeah, that was a good fit. That that was a
Did you
good
have a
decision.
lot of experience in shower doors with your glazing experience, or was it just like it was a good idea, you knew you could do it and you had to go learn them at that point?
Yeah, before I started my own business, I had probably only installed like a few shower doors in my whole career.
Wow.
I remember we were remodeling the Mirage in Vegas, and they were putting in a bunch of shower enclosures there, and I hadn't ever done them before that. So it was just, yeah, it wasn't, it's not really a commercial kind of application, that happens very often. So, and it's funny, man. I can remember like the first time, few times being out selling jobs and talking to a customer, and they'd be asking me some questions. And I'd be like, I don't know the answer to this question. And I was like, and they knew it. I mean, they could tell I didn't know the answer. I was
Yeah.
just like, look, I
Been
can do it. You know, I haven't seen a glass project that I have like had to walk away from because I couldn't do it. Not
there.
yet.
Uh, so that's pretty cool. And that was when was that transition? 2010?
Probably, yeah, yeah, that's probably pretty close. Yeah,
So,
210, 211, something like that.
and
Yep.
with shower doors, did you ever get to running crews, or have you stayed tried to stay pretty lean and mean that whole time?
I did, when I started doing shower doors, I did have just a crew, and we were still, we're still doing multiple things. I wasn't doing only shower doors. In fact, I only recently got to the point to where I actually just kind of say no to everything except shower doors. I was still doing like some handrails and mirrors and stuff like that. I'll still do the occasional mirror if if I'm already on a job and they just need a mirror put in. But
And the tools that came, the Glass Gadget, for those people that don't know what Glass Gadget is, tell us about Glass Gadget and how that came
Yeah.
about. Um,
I started to just wonder why some people are more successful than other people. And I decided to start reading up on it. So I started reading all of the books, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like Think and Grow Rich, and all the kind of standard how to win friends and influence people, all
go
kind of the
grab them all
standard,
off the shelf right now.
right.
The
I started reading like
perfect
crazy these
balance.
kind of self-improvement books. And it's funny because once you start reading those authors will mention like other authors and other books. It's like this chain, it's like this daisy chain that like goes on forever, man. And you'll hear like multiple authors refer to the same other author, the same other book. You're like, oh, I'm gonna have to read that book. And I've just read, so many of those. And what I realized was that the difference between people who are more successful and those who are less successful is the more successful people just think about what they're doing. I mean, it's just like that simple. And one author just said, if you would take 10 minutes a day to sit down and just think about what you do um, and how to do it better, you'd be doing something that 99% of the population never does.
This whole interview was worth that one comment.
Right.
And it's like one of my favorite books, a really short little book, is called Acres of Diamonds. And if you haven't read this book, this is a great book. And basically, I won't give it away for you. You should check it out. It's really short and really easy to read. Um, but the moral of the story is that your treasure is probably right under your feet, really close to home. And I'd always been kind of a reluctant class guy. It's like, yeah, my dad was a glazer. He was kind of a big shot in the union. I mean, everybody knew him in Vegas. They called him the Greek, and he was the project coordinator of the New York job when it went on.
Hmm.
And it's like, so everybody knew him. He was, and it was like, I was a Greek's kid. I'm named after him. And I was kind of reluctant in the industry. And what this made me realize was that I'm in this industry for a reason. It's not a mistake. I believe in God, and I believe, I pray for his will in my life. So I believe that what's happening to me today as a result of God working in my life. And if that's the case, I'm not in the glass industry by accident. That's like, I'm here for a reason. So I took this guy's advice and I started spending just like 15 minutes a day. At the end of the day, I get into a quiet room, turn off the lights, sit there and just kind of meditate, just think about shower doors. And I just think about shower doors. What about shower doors? What could I do to make them better? What could I do to make it easier, to install them? What could I do to, and I started getting ideas. And rather than just having ideas and going, oh, that's a cool idea. Maybe I should do something with that someday. I started actually like prototyping things, started actually, working with them and trying to take them to work with me and seeing if they would work. It's like, what if I had something that would just hold something still, so to free up my hand so I could grab my drill, go across the room, and get a screw or whatever, And most of my ideas, are not like groundbreaking, earth-shattering, inventions that are going to change the world. They're just simple little things, that probably everybody's thought of, a version of at some time. But just, like most people, just never get around to really do anything about it. But I just was purposeful about actually developing some of these ideas, and really thinking about it, and really kind of falling in love with the glass industry. And it probably sounds really weird and really corny,
Not to us.
not to you, but
Come on.
yeah, because it's like, and realizing, my destiny, may not be to, I may not ever be a Sinatra, or I may not ever be a, Barack Obama, or I don't know, whoever, you think is important or has made a big impact in the world, or whatever. But I'm Chris Phillips, and this is what I do. So it's like, what I want to do is just be the best me that I can possibly be,
Oh, yeah.
and give back to this industry that has given so much to me. You know, my thinking has changed so radically in terms of like my position in the world and what I've got coming to me. And I'll tell you really quickly how I think about it. I'm lucky. When I was born, like I was telling you, I had parents. I came from a nuclear family. I know that's not everybody's experience, but I was fortunate in that way. I was born. I was a little baby, and I had nothing to offer. I couldn't do anything for myself. But you know what? I had people who loved me and who cared for me. And it's like when I cried, they'd get up and feed me, change my diapers, whatever. And that went on for my whole childhood. And any work that I did as a kid, it wasn't any good. I mean, any work that I did, if I took out the trash or if I cut the lawn or something, I probably didn't do it very well. It was just for my experience. In other words, I never earned my keep for like probably the first 30 years of my life. Yet I'd have so much, and I was always taken care of. So I think sometimes we can have the misconception that we're getting what we're getting because of the work that we're doing. And that like I do work and then I'm owed something for the work that I do. But I see it the exact opposite of that. It's like I've got all this. I didn't earn everything I've got. I mean, I work hard. I love to work. I work all the time. But it's like the work that I've done in this life can't account for the wealth that I have, for the bounty that I have in my life. I see it like I owe. I don't know how I could ever do enough to make up for everything that I have. And it's like, if somebody takes something from me, you know, um, they're not harming me. Because like I used to be a thief, I used to be a liar, I used to be a cheat, and it's like when I stole from somebody, it hurt me more than it hurt anybody else. When I had to lie, when I had to pretend to be somebody that I wasn't, I was the victim of that. I was the victim of my own action. you know so it's like, when I say that, I don't believe that I get paid based on what I do. I believe that I get paid based on who I am. I really mean that with all my heart. It's like, um, I have what I have because of who I am, because I'm a child of God, because He loves me, because He blesses me. And it's like, I don't know what I could ever do to make up for that. I don't know what I could ever do to be of enough service to to show my gratitude. You know, but since I am here and I'm one of you guys, I just want to be of service to you in any way that I can. If I can help in some way, that's awesome. And I've received a lot of support and a lot of love in this group, and it's weird, because you're a bunch of like stinky glazers, but
Mhm.
you guys, man, you have a lot of love, man, and every now and then someone will say, "Hey, Chris, thanks for everything you do," and it's just like, wow, man, there's like no amount of money or houses or cars or fame or fortune or anything, that means more to me than when somebody says, man, you know, that I'm making a difference in the industry. It's like, right on. That's what I want to do.
I think you are, man. I think uh, I think it's awesome. I think what you've done, even putting these together over these past few Wednesday nights, and thank you so much for sharing everything that you did and going so deep and getting vulnerable with us. But what you've done just on these Wednesday nights by inviting Brandon and myself, and we're fortunate to be a part of this. But we got Bob here on the phone. But like by bringing guys together from all ages into one industry, and communicating and sharing and collaborating and not competing, sharing and collaborating with efforts. It's a really powerful thing, and we can all be a lot more successful. Because there is really, you don't have those secrets. Everyone thinks like, oh, I can't share this. It's mine. This is my secret to my success. And like those secrets are out there. I mean, we live in a day of YouTube where you can go want to learn how to do something, go watch 9 different ways on how to do it by 9 different people. And you'll still get the same result that you're looking for, depending on which way you go. So I think it's really cool that we're bringing like such a collaborative effort. I used to own a cigar lounge, and it was really cool. Not the cigars so much. I didn't really smoke. I started the lounge for my dad, but the coolest, long story short, the coolest part about this cigar lounge was that as soon as everyone sat down in those chairs, whether it was around the poker table, around the chair, that cigar was all the connection that you needed between one another. And so the guy that was sitting right here was a mechanic, and the guy across from him flipped power plants for a living and was worth billions of dollars. And the guy next to him is a financial baker, but they're all sitting there having like a normal conversation about life and sharing life experiences. And it was one of the coolest experiences in my adult life, was sitting in those lounges and watching a guy that makes $40,000 and a guy that makes hundreds of millions of dollars, and everywhere in between, and how they could communicate and collaborate and come together and show unity. And in a place where everything's so divided, or in a time where you feel and you see so much division, it's cool seeing all of us come together. So that's my way of saying thank you, in a long-winded chance form, for letting me be a part of this. I greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say, you and Brandon becoming involved in this the way that you have over these past month or so has been a real shot in the arm, for the group. I think I'm just speaking on behalf of the group. It's like I formed this thing like 10 years ago or something. It's crazy. I looked on the about thing, and it said that I started like 10 years ago. And I didn't really do anything with it. And then about this time, a few years ago, that I was telling you about, when I started like working on improving myself, and there's a lot of stuff happened to me, and we could do a whole nother interview on that. It's like I lost 75 pounds. I radically have transformed my life, again, just the past couple of years. But I started working on, really kind of putting some effort into the Facebook group, and it's grown like crazy over the past few years. But having you guys come and do these Facebook lives has been a real inspiration for me, and I think a lot of other people. It brings such a new energy to it, and such a synergy that is so important. I mean, you really have to have people, working together, in order to create something like that. It takes different personalities coming together and meshing and clashing, and however people do. So thanks for being willing to do that. It's been really cool for me.
Heck yeah.
No, it's been fun. I mean, definitely, like Chance said, you can get information anywhere. So you should be passing information like a hot potato, like I've said before, and teaching others to, grow the trade. Like, let's not let it die. We're already shorthanded as it is, and you can tell by all the conversations we have with everybody, you can't find workers, you can't find skilled trade workers in America anymore, and it's a dying breed. So if we can, you know, change that stigma, get people learning a trade. Glazing such a cool art, especially shower doors. It's so cool, and we don't get the notoriety that a lot of other people do in the glazing industry. Like usually, you come into glazing because you know somebody, or you're born into it. You don't just wake up like Chance said and just go, you know what, I'm gonna become a glazer today.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
think like with what we're doing and there's so much of a age difference on these calls and inside this group. That's awesome because like for me and Brandon, we love talking to the guys our senior because they have all the tricks of the trade that we don't know, and we can learn so much from their mistakes to expedite our success. But us being a little bit younger, I wouldn't say we're young because there's a lot of guys a lot younger than us in this industry. But like being able to kind of bridge that gap and bring some kind of coolness and sexiness to the glass business, to the shower door business, to where maybe people on social media or other places and high school coaches and stuff like that will start seeing us as this group gets bigger and there's more of us sharing our successes, that people will start sending, young high school men and kids that aren't going to college or even college graduates our way and into our industry. So like if we get loud enough and we come together as a unit, I think we can actually make some big waves and catch some attention where people start to come to us. So that's kind of our big goal of Glass Experts is like, hey, trying to bring everyone together and make some noise in the industry where we can get the attention we deserve. And then we can start attracting good players, because no matter how good of marketing we get or how good of systems or how good of tools that we create, the human, is the missing factor in a lot of us growing these businesses, but if Chick-fil-A can have high school kids standing outside in umbrella hats, taking your order in the rain, happy as hell to be there, then we can train people and have people come into the glass business and be happy to be here and turn it into real careers, right? So I think we're getting there. We're getting there. We're on the start of something special.
Yeah, and people just don't know. It's like it's a cool business, man. I tried to stay away from it because from the outside, it didn't look that cool, as a kid watching my dad do it. But once I got into the business, it's awesome, man. I love it. It's in my DNA, and I can see why my dad excelled at it. I can see why my brother also, has excelled at it. I mean, you know, um, because somehow we're just wired. It's in our genes to do this kind of work, and it's a pretty sexy job. I mean, it really is, man. I mean, you don't realize it, but it's like, dude, I'll tell you what. I get done doing a shower door. At the end of the day, I look at that thing. I'm like, man, dude, that is awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
I mean,
you
I
think
hate to brag, but
the plumber that's running the piping underneath and behind the walls and then the subfloor, and like you think he's taking a picture of his work to go show it to his friends afterwards or put it on Instagram, like it doesn't work like that. Or even the guys that just do windows, coming from that side of the business, it was really hard to like, hey, we just got a window job done. It's not very sexy. Like, how do you show this thing off? But then you get into the showers and the railings and the wine cellars, and like, there's a sense of pride that comes with that. And I know even watching my employees make that transition from doing windows to doing showers, where they start feeling more prideful and they're like, man, I don't want to do windows no more. Like, give me the shower doors, So we do something cool, man. We do
yeah,
something cool.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we need to just attract more people into it, and the people who are already in the industry, it's like me. I mean, there's a reason you're in the glass business, and I would recommend that to anybody. Just take some time out of your day to really think about what you're doing and why. Why are you here? why are you in this industry? Why do you have the job that you do? And how can you make it better? How can you, you know, make the company you're working for more profitable, make your boss look good. I mean, when I stop thinking about myself all the time, start thinking about, what's going on around me, gives me the opportunity to accomplish so much more. And it's so much more fulfilling. There's so much more just joy, in life. Uh, living that way, man. I just
Heck
love it.
yeah.
For
I
sure.
think a lot of people can take a lot from your perspective on life, man. So,
Thanks,
um,
man. Hey, one last thing. I want to plug this thing. So, you guys told me about Clubhouse, right?
yeah,
So I got on Clubhouse, man.
addicting. I can't
It
even do
is, dude.
addicting. Yeah.
Well, and I've got this buddy, who's he's my chiropractor. It's also a guy who I jam with. We play music together like once a week, and we decided to start this Clubhouse room. It's called Your Best Day Ever. So on Thursday morning, like tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock Pacific, every Thursday morning we do this room, and it's just like we just talk about this kind of positive mindset, just how to make today the best day it can possibly be. So we just started a few weeks ago. We have a few people show up, and sometimes people have questions. Some people just have ideas, but basically it's just all about um, how great life is and techniques for being motivated and being positive, and just thinking your way into a better life. So check it out if you want to. If you're on Clubhouse, if you're not, you can send me an instant message. I've got some invitations. I've got half a dozen or so I can send out
I
if
got
you're not on there yet.
I got quite a few invites too, and it's a really cool thing. If y'all don't know what it is, it's like we're doing on Wednesday nights, except it's all audio. And like crazy high end speakers will come. Like there'll be billionaire, big time business people, famous influencers. They'll let them be the speakers of the room a lot of time, and you can raise your hand and work your way up and have a conversation with some really high. I stayed on one night way too late, and I had like almost a 10-minute conversation with Grant Cardone and just a few other people, and asked a lot of real estate questions. But you can get direct access to these people, so it's really cool. We wanted to make a glass one where it was just all about glass conversation that met up, but just never saw it through. But you can get into real estate, anything you want to learn. There's a conversation going on about it on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, the time may be coming. It may just not be the right time yet, but maybe in the future. We'll see. It's still kind of a new platform, and so we'll see where it's going, but it's pretty fun. Thanks for turning me on to that.
Heck yeah. So I'm gonna give one. We launched follow up as a to all glass owners now. It is not just available to our partners like we originally launched it. We got a support team. We've been getting a ton of DMs and stuff like that, but our sales team is very small at the moment because it's a new platform. So we're not able to do all the one-on-one calls that people are wanting as demos. So we're going to start going live every Sunday and do a live demo presentation with a Q&A. So anyone that wants to know about follow-up, how it works, whatever, and you're just interested in the software, 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sundays. If anyone's interested, we'll put a link in the group, or y'all can email me and Brandon or Chris.
Yeah.
Just so once a week we can do a demo. Anyone can hop on, as many people can hop on that wants to come. And then if you're interested, you can get signed up, and we'll help you get follow-up, making money for you. So you don't, yeah, that's it.
You're going to love it, man. It's got me running like crazy, dude. I'm so busy.
Yeah.
I can barely keep up, man. Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're pretty stoked about that. Like to get it in some normal people's hands, we really think it can help grow and systemize some of these guys that need that little boost of technology in their life.
It's something we've been working on for a while, come to life. Speaking of coming to life, just that, and then price up, we finally got the beta version of that, so we're working through it. So that's gonna be pretty cool. That'll be still a ways out, but
heck yeah. So Sunday, tomorrow morning, Thursday, Clubhouse, get your day right. Sunday, show up and follow up and stop leaving all that money on the table. And, tell all your friends about tonight's interview, and then go share and watch Chris and learn about his inspirational story. And I'm going to go eat some dinner, but I appreciate you guys having me here. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good. I think I'm gonna have some dinner too. Thanks, guys.
Night,
All right.
Chris. Night, Brandon.
See you later.
Night, Bob.
See you next time.
Hey, Bob.